Hey, this is TJ, and today I'm going to do a quick video on Kemper profile tweaking. That being whether or not you made the profile yourself or you get the profiles from somewhere else. We're going to be looking at the amplifier section of the Kemper Profiler, and we're going to do some tweaking on the different parameters. We'll use some sound samples to hear the difference for each parameter. Now, I know there's some great videos from other folks out there, but I just thought I'd share some of my insights, and hopefully they help you. Let's get started. Okay, so what we got going on here, this is my Kemper Stage. And what I've done is I've recorded a nice little loop into my, the TC electronic wiretap looper. And you're looking at here, one of the new profiles I just put out, the MT15. That's a high gain amp. Let's hear what it sounds like. Alright, that's my lovely loop. You'll probably get tired of hearing that before the end of this video. What we want to do though is see how we can make some changes to that. Maybe make it better sounding or worse. Let's check that out. So what we want to do is go into here, into the edit screen, and you'll see along the bottom row here you want to select the amplifier. Okay, we've already done that. Now you'll see the soft knobs here, the bass, middle, treble, and presence, just like it was on the original home screen, but we're going to dive over, all the way over, and then you see the definition, the power sagging, the pick attack, and the compression. Okay, the most powerful of all these parameters is certainly the definition. And what that does is it limits or expands upon the amount of overtones that you hear in the profile. So let's listen to that as we change the dial. Okay, so here, as I turned it all the way down, it got much darker. And as I turned it all the way up, okay, you can hear the upper harmonics in the profile, and it got much brighter. So let's turn it back down to around the 5 area that it was before and see how that sounds. So about 5.4 is where it was before, and I think I like that way, so we're going to leave it like that. The next we have is the power sagging. Okay, and that's generally the difference between the sound of a more vintage sound and a more modern sounding amp. Let's see how that sounds if we turn that up. And now back down. Okay, so you can hear a little bit of the difference of how the amp responds with the sagging. Next we have the pick attack. Now the pick attack is either a positive or a negative value, and that will either increase or limit the amount of pick noise that you should hear within the profile. So let's hear how that sounds. Let's turn it down now. Alright, so that certainly helps control the amount of pick noise, pick attack that you have in there. Alright, so we're going to put that back to 0 though. And next we have the amp compressor, and this is the supposedly the natural compression that you would get from an amp. A lot of my profiles, you'll see that I like to have just a little taste of that, just to give it a little bit more tightness in the whole sound. So let's see how that sounds if we turn it up. And now we'll turn it back down. Alright, so with the compression, I'll put that back on the 1, where I had it before. With the compression, if you turn it up too high, it really just kind of takes the life out of the amp, the bloom per se, but a little bit of it can do a lot. Let's move on to the next page, and we'll get a whole new set of parameters. Here you have the clarity, the tube shape, tube bias, and the direct mix. Now the clarity is designed to give a little bit more clearness to the middle part of the sound, that being not the highs, the lows, but the mids per se. The tube shape is the type of tube that it's related to. Okay, either say 6L6s, 6V6s, EL34s, and the tube bias is whether or not the amp generally is going to be running hot or cold. The direct mix adds a little bit of bleed into the signal from your direct guitar signal. So let's play with the clarity and we'll see how that sounds. Alright, that brings out it up. Let's bring it down. So clarity definitely has a big impact on the mid-range of the signal without necessarily boosting it or decreasing it. The tube shape, let's see how that sounds. This is a much more subtle one. Alright, that's up. Let's turn it back down. Okay, so that's a very subtle difference. Usually when it does the profiles, it gets a tube shape of 3.3. That's its middle ground, I guess. So I usually like to play with it a little bit to see whether or not I like it. In the case of these profiles, I found that if you turn it down a little bit, it makes the amp sound a little bit more tight. Next is the tube bias. Again, this is also very much a feel-oriented type of thing. And let's turn it back down. Okay, again, you really can get most of that from the feel of the amp, so it's a little hard to catch that in the video here, but just to show you what it does. Next, we're going to look at the direct mix. You turn this all the way up, you're not going to hear the distortion anymore. You're just going to hear the original looped guitar here. Alright, that's my crappy guitar playing. Let's turn that back down. Alright, so that's the glorious sound of distortion back in the mix. Let's go to the next page. Now the next page is just the amp's volume. That's it. Turn it up, turn it down. Alright, you can also cut it. Ah, but there's no fun in that. No head banging going on when you cut the sound, so let's put it back onto the tube. And lastly, we have the EQ section here. Okay, you have bass, middle, treble, and presence. Now the key thing to understand that each one of these has their own EQ curve that is located within inside the Kemper here. It's not going to relate directly to the amp that you profiled, but they are very helpful in terms of doing a final sculpting of the sound. If you get a profile that's very bass heavy, you can cut it, okay, and try to take a little bit of it out. It's flubby, say, for example, and the definition parameter isn't really doing it for you for that way. So these are very helpful. A little means a lot. Too much, it'll probably sound, well, kind of crappy. But let's say, take a listen and see how these sound. That's bass up at an extreme. And cut down. And you see, the further I go, the worse off it kind of sounds from not just the original, but just from it sounding good in the first place. So we're going to do the same things with the mids, the treble, and the presence, and we'll see how those sound. Cut it. And now the treble. Bring on the highs, bring them out. Alright, that was the wet blanket. Let's bring in some presence. And get the presence out. Okay, so that's the presence. Now another very, very important tone shaping parameter is the gain knob. Now you turn this up or down too much, it's probably going to sound like crap. But a little bit means a lot, again, just like the EQ section here. Particularly if it sounds like a little bit of mud, I usually like to turn down a little bit of the gain to make it a little bit more clearer. And or if you're just not getting enough for your breakfast in the morning, turn that gain up. Let's see how that sounds. And turn it down. Okay, like it was never even there in the first place. Nice thing about the gain knob and all the other knobs here with the Kemper is it tells you where it started from. Here it was at 7.3, so I'm going to put it right back where it was. And then we get the original sound back. One more time with that glorious loop. Well, hey, that's it. Just a quick shot at the Kemper Profiler and tweaking your amps to make them sound as good as possible. Make sure you check out tjontheroad.com for Kemper Profiles and a lot more coming. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe.